بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وبه نستعين.
We relate unto you, Muhammad, the best of stories through our revelation unto you of this Quran. Yusuf, Al-Karim, Ibn Al-Karim, Ibn Al-Karim, Ibn Al-Karim. So Yusuf is telling them, إِنَ الْحُكْمُ إِلَّا لِلَّهِ أَمَرَ أَن لَا تَعْبُدُوا إِلَّا إِيَّاهِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the commandment belongs to Him, and Allah has instructed you to worship none but Him. And He said, Yusuf, أيها الصديق. Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as we mentioned, has given Ibrahim alayhi as-salām the glad tidings of Ishaq and Yaqub. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says about Ishaq, وَبَشَّرْنَاهُ بِإِسْحَاقَ نَبِيًّا مِنَ الصَّالِحِينَ. And we gave him the glad tidings of Ishaq, a prophet and of the righteous. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَبَشَّرْنَاهُ بِغُلَامٍ عَلِيمٍ. And we have given him the glad tidings of a knowledgeable child. So Allah has described Ishaq as being knowledgeable, alim, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala described him as being min as-salihin, righteous, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, kana nabiyya, he is a prophet. Ishaq alayhi as-salām had a child, and that child is Sayyidina Yaqub. Yaqub alayhi as-salām has another name also, and that is Israel. إِلَّا مَا حَرَّمَ إِسْرَائِيلُ عَلَى نَفْسِهِ مِنْ قَبْلِ أَن تُنَزَّلَ التَّوْرَاةِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mentioned the name Israel in Quran. And the Mufassirin say that Israel means Abdullah, the servant of Allah. That's the explanation that they give to the word Israel. So when we say Bani Israel, the children of Israel, we're talking about the sons of Yaqub. And when we talk about the 12 tribes, we're talking about the tribes that are the descendants of the 12 sons of Yaqub. Yaqub alayhi salam had 12 sons. The best of them is Yusuf alayhi salam, who is a Nabi of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Some scholars tend to believe that the other 11 brothers were also Anbiya. And they use as an evidence to support that the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says,
قولوا آمنا بالله وما أنزل إلينا وما أنزل إلى إبراهيم وإسماعيل وإسحاق ويعقوب والأسباط وما أوتي موسى وعيسى وما أوتي النبيون من ربهم لا نفرق بين أحد منهم وَنَحْنُ لَهُ مُسْلِمُونَ.
This ayah is saying that we believe in what has been revealed to, and it mentions the names of Ibrahim, and obviously revelation is given to the Anbiya. Ibrahim, Ismail, Ishaq, Yaqub, and Al-Asbat. And what was given to Isa and Musa. So they say that Al-Asbat was talking about the 12 sons of Yaqub. But the other scholars respond and say, no, Al-Asbat does not mean the 12 sons of Yaqub, but it means the 12 tribes. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala combined them all in the word Asbat to include all of the prophets that came in the 12 tribes of Bani Israel. Because we know that many prophets were sent to the children of Israel, and they were among the 12 tribes. Therefore, Al-Asbat over here is not referring to the fathers of the tribes, but it's referring to all the tribes. And Ibn Kathir supports this opinion because he says that the things that were done by the brothers of Yusuf are not appropriate for the Anbiya. So he says that they are not Anbiya, only Yusuf was a Nabi, and Yusuf is the only one out of them who is specifically mentioned by name in Quran as a Nabi of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The story of Sayyidina Yusuf is unique in Quran. Because the whole story, from the beginning to the end, was mentioned in one surah. And it takes almost all of the surah. With the exception of a few verses in the beginning and a few verses in the end, the whole surah is talking about Sayyidina Yusuf. To give us a complete story and experience of a Nabi of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from the beginning till the end. And the Surah of Yusuf, one of the Salaf, he says, anybody who is going through trouble and problems and is feeling sorrow, if he reads the Surah of Yusuf, it will eliminate it. Because it's the story of someone who went through difficulty. But because he armed himself with taqwa and sabr, righteousness and patience, eventually he was victorious. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, we relate unto you, Muhammad, the best of stories through our revelation unto you of this Qur'an. And before this, you were among those who knew nothing about it. Yusuf said, O my father, and Yusuf in English, Joseph, O my father, verily I saw in a dream 11 stars, and the sun and the moon, I saw them prostrating themselves for me. Yusuf was very young at the time, he was a child. He saw this dream. 11 planets, and the sun and the moon are making sujood, prostration to him. So he told his father about this dream. His father told him, O my son, relate not this vision of yours to your brothers. He said, don't tell your brothers about this vision. Why? Lest they arrange a plot against you. The father knew that this dream means that Yusuf will attain very high levels, and that everyone in his family will be under him. And the father knew that this is something the brothers will not accept, because they were already jealous of Yusuf. And we'll see how bad their jealousy was. And then he said, verily, Satan is an enemy to humans. Shaitan is the one who places these disputes among us. It is from Shaitan. من عمل الشيطان. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَقُلْ لِعِبَادِي يَقُولُ الَّتِي هِيَ أَحْسَنُ إِنَّ الشَّيْطَانَ يَنزَغُ بَيْنَهُمْ إِنَّ الشَّيْطَانَ كَانَ لِلْإِنسَانِ عَدُوًّا مُبِينًا. Tell my servants to say a good word between themselves. Say a good word. Because shaitan causes problems amongst you. Because shaitan is your enemy. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us, say good words. The good word is a weapon against shaitan. Because shaitan is using your words against you. He's using your words to bring problems. If we look at problems, most of them are caused because of what we say. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, قُلْ لِعِبَادِي يَقُولُ الَّتِي أَحْسَنُ. Say the best. Always speak the best. And that will keep away from you a big part of the plot of shaitan. And then he told his son,
وَكَذَلِكَ يَجْتَبِيكَ رَبُّكَ وَيُعَلِّمُكَ مِن تَأْوِيلِ الْأَحَادِيثِ وَيُتِمُّ نِعْمَتَهُ عَلَيْكَ وَعَلَى ويتم نعمته عليك وعلى آل يعقوب كما أتمها على أبويك من قبل إبراهيم وإسحاق إن ربك عليم حكيم.
Thus will your Lord, and all of these things he's deriving from this dream. Thus will your Lord choose you. Allah will choose you and teach you the interpretation of dreams and other things. Ta'wil ahadith. Ta'wil is interpretation. Ahadith are speeches, words, dreams, different things. So it doesn't necessarily mean only dreams. It means that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give Yusuf wisdom to interpret things, to have a good judgment, and will perfect His favor on you and on the offspring of Yaqub as He perfected it on your fathers Ibrahim and Ishaq aforetime. Verily your Lord is all-knowing, all-wise. Some men came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and they told him, Man akramun nas, who is the most noble of men? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Yusuf, al-Karim, Ibn al-Karim, Ibn al-Karim, Ibn al-Karim. It is Yusuf, the noble, the son of the noble, the son of the noble, the son of the noble. If you're asking me about the best lineage, it is Yusuf. The father of Yusuf is a prophet. His grandfather is a prophet, and his great-grandfather is a prophet, and he's a prophet himself. That's the best lineage if you want to look at it this way. Yusuf, ibn Yaqub, ibn Ishaq, ibn Ibrahim alayhi as-salām. It's an honor from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be a prophet, and your father is a prophet, and your grandfather is a prophet, and your great-grandfather is a prophet. Wherever you look up, you find the guidance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. An honor from Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us,
لقد كان في يوسف وإخوته آيات للسائلين.
verily in Yusuf and his brethren, there were ayat for those who ask. If you look at the story of Yusuf and you think about it, you would find in it an ocean of meanings and lessons that will assist you in your life. The brothers of Yusuf knew that their father loved him more than them. 10 of them were from different mother or mothers, and Yusuf and Binyamin were from another wife of Sayyidina Yaqub. Yusuf was the most beloved in the eyes of his father. And these brothers disliked that. And they were jealous. And we said that jealousy blinds the heart. They said,
إن أبانا لفي ضلال مبين.
They said, our father is in plain error. Why? Because he loves Yusuf more than us. We are the men. We are the elders. We are the strongest. We are a group. We are the ones who are going to help our father in moments of need. How can he love this Yusuf and his brother who are young and alone? I mean, in those times, what protects you is your family. Didn't have law enforcement and police to take care of security. You protect yourself through your family. And that's why they used to be proud whenever they have a lot of family members. The bigger your family member, the stronger you become. So they said, وَنَحْنُ عُصْبَةٌ. We are the men who are strong. How can our father love Yusuf more than us? And then they accused their father of being in error, ضلال, misguided. And this is not the right thing to say about your father, that your father is misguided. And you know that your father is a Nabi of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is because of jealousy. The brothers of Yusuf made a plan to assassinate their brother. Look at how jealousy made their thinking crooked. the small issue of the love of their father to Yusuf became very big in their eyes. And the big issue of killing a human soul became very small and insignificant. It's all because of jealousy. So jealousy made them see this little more love that Yaqub has to his son. It's just a little bit more love because he loves them all of them are his children. But just because he loves Yusuf a little bit more, they saw that as a great deal, a big thing. And it obsessed them and overwhelmed them and overtook their thinking. But then killing a human being is something normal and small. Why? Because of jealousy. اقتلوا Yusuf, kill him. أو اطرحوه أرضا, or throw him out in a far land. يخلو لكم وجه أبيكم وتكونوا من بعده قوما صالحين. Your father would give you the favors alone, and after that you would be righteous folks. They intended to make tawbah before making the sin. They said, we're going to kill him, and then we're going to make tawbah. One of them, who was the softest among them, he said, no, don't kill Yusuf. Instead, throw him in the well.
قال قائل منهم لا تقتلوا يوسف وألقوه في غيابة الجب يلتقطه بعض السيارة إن كنتم فاعلين.
One of them said, kill not Yusuf, but if you must do something, throw him down to the bottom of a well. He will be picked up by some caravan of travelers. So they made a deal that they're going to throw him in a well. And then whenever somebody would come and take water from that well, they're going to pick up Yusuf and they're going to carry him with them, and we're going to get rid of him that way. Let's not kill him. So they went to the father and they said, oh, our father, why don't you trust us with Yusuf? We're strong men, we'll take care of him. Let him come out and play with us. Yaqub was so protective of his son, he would not let him go out and play with them. He is always with him. He used to love his son so much. They said,
قالوا يا أبانا ما لك لا تأمنا على يوسف وإنا له لناصحون.
O our father, why do you not trust us with Yusuf when we are indeed his well-wishers? Send him with us tomorrow to enjoy himself and play. Verily we will take care of him. قال إنه ليحزنني أن تذهبوا بيوسف. He said, truly it saddens me that you should take him away from me. Yaqub alayhi salam loves his son so much he can't even stand letting his son go out for a day. I would feel sorrow, I would feel sad if you take away Yusuf from me. He used to love his son so much. One day is too much for him. He can't let go of his son for a day. And then he said, وَأَخَافُ أَن يَأْكُلَهُ الذِّئْبُ وَأَنْتُمْ عَنْهُ غَافِلُونَ. I fear lest a wolf should devour him while you are careless of him. So they picked up this from their father and then they used it. The father said, I'm worried that a wolf would kill him. These brothers were so much in a hurry to get rid of Yusuf, they didn't even have time to perfect their plan, so they picked up this word of their father. They took out Yusuf with them to go out and play. They threw him in a well. And then they took his clothes and they slaughtered a small goat. And they poured the blood of that goat on his clothes. And then they went back to their father crying. And they said, our father, the wolf ate him. He told them, I'm afraid that the wolf will eat him. They said, okay, let's say that the wolf ate him. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says,
فلما ذهبوا به وأجمعوا أن يجعلوه في غيابة الجب.
so when they took him away, they all agreed to throw him down to the bottom of the well. when they were throwing him in the well, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed to Yusuf.
وَأَوْحَيْنَا إِلَيْهِ لَتُنَبِّئَنَّهُم بِأَمْرِهِمْ هَٰذَا وَهُمْ لَا يَشْعُرُونَ.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed to Yusuf, and we inspired in him, indeed you shall one day inform them of this affair while they know you not. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told Yusuf, one day you would tell your brothers about this event and they would not know that it is you who's speaking to them. Allah is telling Yusuf about something, but Yusuf does not know the details of it, when it will happen. It's a prophecy that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has inspired to Sayyidina Yusuf. And they came to their fathers in the early part of the night, weeping. They were crying. They were crying. They said, our father, we went racing with one another and left Yusuf by our belongings, and a wolf devoured him, but you will never believe us even when we speak the truth. Once one of the Muslim judges, an old woman came to him in a case, and she was crying so much, crying and crying and crying. The judge ruled against her. So then the friend of the judge said, she's crying so much, she must be telling the truth. Why didn't you believe her? He said, didn't you read in Quran that the brothers of Yusuf came to their father at night crying? Crying is not a sign of innocence. Crying is not a sign of truth. You could cry while you're lying. So over here, the brothers of Yusuf, they came back home crying, but they are the ones who committed the crime. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says,
قال بل سولت لكم أنفسكم أمرا فصبر جميل والله المستعان على ما تصفون.
and they brought his shirt stained with false blood. He said, nay, this is Yaqub, nay, but your own selves have made up a tale. He knew that they're lying, so patience is most fitting, and it is Allah alone whose help can be sought against that which you assert. I mean, what is he going to do? Is he going to kill his sons? This is a dilemma for the father. Is he going to kill his sons? So he said, Sabrun Jamil, I will have patience. And Allah al-Musta'an, I would seek assistance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yusuf was in the well. A caravan of travelers passed by. فَأَرْسَلُوا وَارِدَهُمْ. They sent somebody to go and get water for them. So he inserted the bucket in the well, and Yusuf clinged to the bucket. And this man is pulling up the bucket, looking forward to get some water. He finds in there a child. He said, Ya Bushra hada ghulam. He was so happy. Why? Because this is a fortune. In those times, slaves would get you a lot of money. So they felt that they are going to sell this young child, and it's a very good deal for them. So they picked him up, took him with them in their caravan, and they went to Egypt. And they sold him in Egypt. They sold him for a good price. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says,
وَشَرَوْهُ بِثَمَنٍ بَخْسٍ دَرَاهِمَ مَعْدُودَةٍ وَكَانُوا فِيهِ مِنَ الزَّاهِدِينَ.
and they sold him for a low price. Why? Even though they got a good deal for Yusuf. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying it's a low price because they never knew who was in their hands. They don't know who is the one they sold. They don't know who this child will grow up to be. And if they would have sold him with his weight in gold, that would have been a cheap price. وَكَانُوا فِيهِ مِنَ الزَّاهِدِينَ, and they were of those who regarded him as insignificant. They didn't know who he was. This is a ghaib in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, unseen.
وقال الذي اشتراه من مصر لامرأته أكرمي مثواه عسى أن ينفعنا أو نتخذه ولدا.
And he, the man from Egypt who bought him, said to his wife, "Make his stay comfortable. Maybe he will profit us, or we shall adopt him as a son." One of the Salaf, he says, 3 persons had a very, very good farasa. Farasa is the ability to foresee an event or to look in the future. He said one of them is this man in Egypt. He bought Yusuf, and he said maybe one day he will benefit us. Maybe this man will have a future. The second is the daughter of the man in Madian who went to her father and said, "Ista'jir, inna khayra min as-sarjarat al-qawiy al-amin." Hire him to work for you, because the best man you could hire is the strong and trustworthy. She was speaking about who? Musa. And the third one is Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, when he appointed Umar ibn Khattab to be the Khalifa. They said these are the 3 men who had the best farasa, the best vision ahead.
وكذلك مكنا ليوسف في الأرض ولنعلمه من تأويل الأحاديث.
Thus did we establish Yusuf in the land, that we might teach him the interpretation of events. Yusuf alayhi as-salām went through slavery and was bought and sold and went through this difficulty in his life. Why? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to establish him on earth. للتمكين. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is putting this ummah in difficulty. Why? To prepare them. To prepare them for their establishment in the land. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put the Sahaba and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in difficulty. Why? So that one day they will be prepared and ready for the establishment on the land. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put Musa through misery and difficulty. And we're going to talk about the amazing story of Musa. The difficulty that he went through, and the struggling and the striving. Why? So that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will establish him. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَكَذَلِكَ مَكَّنَّا لِيُوسُفَ فِي الْأَرْضِ. Thus did we establish. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is calling this establishment, because he got to Egypt, even though he was a slave, but that was establishment for him in the future. وَلِنُعَلِّمَهُ مِنْ تَأْوِيلِ الْأَحَادِيثِ. And we teach him the interpretation of events. Yusuf is living through a life experience so that he would develop knowledge and experience. He's going through a lot. And notice that Yusuf, alayhi salam, where is he being trained now? He's been trained in the house of Al-Aziz. Al-Aziz is like the prime minister in modern terms. Not only the prime minister, but it's even stronger than that because it's also the treasurer in the same time. The second most important post after the king. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put Yusuf in that environment, even though he's a slave. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is putting him in the decision-making center. He is close to these events to learn, to gain experience. Just like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put Musa where? In the house of Fir'aun. Wallahu ghalibun ala amrih. And Allah has full power and control over His affairs. The brothers of Yusuf thought that they had control over affairs and they're going to get rid of him. But as soon as they put Yusuf in the well, the matter is out of their hands. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is taking care of Yusuf. And things are going to turn around against them. وَلَكِنَّ أَكْثَرَ النَّاسِ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. But most of the men know not. And among these men who know not are the brothers of Yusuf. Yusuf grew up in the house of Al-Aziz. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says,
وَلَمَّا بَلَغَ أَشُدَّهُ آتَيْنَاهُ حُكْمًا وَعِلْمًا.
And when he, Yusuf, attained his full manhood, we gave him wisdom and knowledge. Thus we reward the doers of the good. Hukma and ilma. Hukm is judgment and ilm is knowledge. Why didn't Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say hukm only? Or why didn't Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say ilm only? These are two different things. Good judgment and knowledge. And Allah gave Yusuf both. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said we have given him knowledge only, knowledge could mean that you memorize a lot of Quran, you know a lot of ahadith, but if you don't have a good processing of that information, if you don't have good judgment, you can't really do much with it. And we find that there are people who have a lot of knowledge with them, but they're limited in their ability to take advantage of it. And they're limited in their ability to make use of it. Good judgment, hukmah, is the ability to judge events. The correct estimation and assessment of things. You look at something and you have wisdom in the way you assess that event and the way you analyze it and the way you deal with it and act upon it. And that is a skill, and knowledge is something else. When you put these together, you get the perfect personality. Good judgment and knowledge together. And that is something Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given the anbiya. It is the fahm and the understanding in the deen. Because Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, رُبَّ حَامِلْ فِقْهٍ إِلَىٰ مَنْ هُوَ أَفْقَهْ مِنْهُ. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam talks about maybe you are carrying fiqh, you are delivering fiqh to somebody who understands it more than you. An example of that, Imam Abu Hanifa was sitting in his halaqah, in his circle, and the way of Imam Abu Hanifa in teaching was unique among the four scholars. With Abu Hanifa, radiallahu anhu, he used to have a council. So he would present an issue for debate, and they would discuss it, and then they would give opinions, and then he would make a final verdict. With the other three imams, they are the ones who would give the verdict, and everybody in front of them is a student. When you're sitting in the halaqah of Imam Malik, you are a student. You don't argue with Imam Malik. You take from him. With Imam Abu Hanifa, it was different. He had, for example, Muhammad ibn al-Hasan and Abu Yusuf. We don't call them students of Abu Hanifa, we call them as-sahiban, the two friends or companions. Even though they were students of Abu Hanifa, but we don't call them students because they used to be a council with him, which he would discuss affairs with. Anyway, there was one scholar of hadith who used to sit in this council of Imam Abu Hanifa. He recited the hadith. Imam Abu Hanifa did not know that hadith. He did not have that knowledge. A woman came and asked the scholar of hadith who was sitting in the meeting of Abu Hanifa a question. She asked him a question. That scholar of hadith said, Allahu A'lam, I don't know the answer. Imam Abu Hanifa said, I know the answer. So the scholar of hadith said, oh Imam, how did you know the answer? He said, I knew the answer from the hadith you just recited. So this is an example of somebody who is carrying the knowledge, but did not know how to implement it. While Imam Abu Hanifa did not have it, but when he had it, he knew how to use it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given Yusuf alayhi as-salām both, hukm and ilm. Good judgment on events and knowledge. And this is something very important for anybody in a position of leadership. It's not enough to have knowledge, and it's not good only to have good judgment. You need to have both to be an effective and successful leader. There is an Islamic state that happened in North Africa a few centuries ago. This Islamic state was established by ulama, and they implemented the Sharia. And it was one of the honors of the Islamic history. When the scholars analyze the reasons of the downfall of that Islamic state, they say one of the reasons is because these scholars lost touch with the reality of the world around them. They had a lot of knowledge, but they lost touch with the reality of the world. They were too much busy studying the details of fiqh and tafri'at al-fiqhiyya, and they lost touch with the world around them, and that was one of the reasons why that state fell and was overtaken. Even though they were establishing Sharia and they were scholars, there's no doubt in their righteousness. Yusuf alayhi grew up in the house of Al-Aziz. One of the Islamic scholars gives an estimate of the age of Yusuf when he was adopted. He says he was about maybe 14 years old. Because ghulam, when they have taken him from the well and they said ghulam, that is usually the age of a ghulam. Older than that is called fata. And he says that balagha ashuddahu would mean 25 years old, even though there's a difference in opinion on what is balagha ashuddah. We can give an estimate that the wife of Al-Aziz at that time was about 40 years old. Because if they have adopted Yusuf when he was 14, and let's say that she was maybe 30 years old, because her husband was already the Aziz, and usually to have a position of that status, you might be 40 years old. So by the time Yusuf grows up to be 25, she might have been at that time 40 years old. The wife of Al-Aziz presented herself to Sayyidina Yusuf. And she, in whose house he was, sought to seduce him. وَغَلَّقَتِ الْأَبْوَابِ And she closed the doors. وَقَالَتْ هَيْتَ لَكَ And she said, come on, you. She tried to sleep with him by force. She brought him into that room, closed the doors, presented herself to him, and wanted to force him to commit the act of zina.
قال معاذ الله
He said, I seek refuge in Allah.
إنه ربي أحسن مثواي
Truly, your husband is my master, and he made my stay agreeable.
إنه لا يفلح الظالمون
I will never betray him, because the wrongdoers will never be successful. Subhanallah. قال معاذ الله I seek refuge in Allah. Your husband, so first of all, look at this. First of all, he's not stopping her in his confidence in his own self. He's asking Allah to help him. Ma'ad Allah, I seek refuge in Allah. Oh Allah, help me. And then he said, إِنَّهُ رَبِّي أَحْسَنَ مَثْوَاي Your husband is my master, and he has been very well with me. He has treated me very well. Look at the gratitude that Sayyidina Yusuf had. Even though he was a slave, and this was a slave master, he did not have any hatred against him. In fact, he viewed him as somebody who needs to be respected, because he dealt with him in a very good and respectable way. And then he said, إِنَّهُ لَا يُفْلِحُ الظَّالِمُونَ The ones who betray and the ones who do wrong, they can never be successful. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says,
وَلَقَدْ هَمَّتْ بِهِ وَهَمَّ بِهَا لَوْلَا أَن رَّأَىٰ بُرْهَانَ رَبِّهِ
And indeed, she did desire him, and he would have inclined to her desire had he not seen the evidence of his Lord. She desired him. وَلَقَدْ هَمَّتْ بِهِ And he had also this ham. وَهَمَّ بِهَا Her desire, she was acting upon it. Her desire was in her heart, but she was acting upon it. This idea passed through his heart, but he did not act upon it. And we know from the hadith, Rasulullah ﷺ says, if you make the intention to do evil, and then you do it, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will write it down against you as one evil deed. And if you think about doing evil, but then you do not do it, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will write it as a good deed. So the thought itself passed through the heart of Yusuf alayhi as-salām. But he did not act upon it, and he shut that door, and he sought refuge in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he drove it out of his heart, and he refused. In itself, what I'm presenting to you now, a fact that a beautiful woman presents herself to a man, that in itself is difficult. Now let's look at the other elements and variables in this situation that would even complicate it further. Number one, this woman was extremely beautiful, and she was wealthy, and she was his master. So she has the power to force him, and if he does not obey her, she can punish him. Number two, we cannot believe that she resorted to such extreme measures suddenly in that moment. No. A woman will not resort to using force except if she has exhausted all other means. She must have tried everything possible before she started using force. And imagine this, because Sayyidina Yusuf was living with her. So Sayyidina Yusuf, it wasn't a spur of the moment. Sayyidina Yusuf was going through this pain and fitna for a long time. He has been presented to this seduction for a very, very long period. Because she will not act this way, shut the doors and try to force him, except if she has tried all other means before and they didn't work. So she must have been doing this for months or maybe even years. This is the complication of the situation, because it's difficult to stop it, even if it's a spur of the moment thing. But it makes it even much, much more difficult to stop if you have been going through this for years. And you are living with her in the same house, seeing her day and night. And they are the one who are feeding you and taking care of you, and there's interaction. And he had sumud, he had persistence, and he was able to stop this fitna and say, I seek refuge in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is why Sayyidina Yusuf is the leader of the ones who come under the shade of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the Day of Judgment. رَجُلٌ دَعَتْهُ امْرَأَةٌ ذَاتَ حَسَبٍ وَجَمَالٍ فَقَالَ إِنِّي أَخَافُ اللَّهِ. A man who was called by a woman ذَاتَ حَسَبٍ وَجَمَالٍ, beauty and position. And he says, I fear Allah. This woman had hasab, she had position. She had wealth, she had mal, she had beauty, she had everything. And Sayyidina Yusuf was able to stand against this sea of seduction and stop it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says,
كَذَلِكَ لِنَصْرِفَ عَنْهُ السُّوءَ وَالْفَحْشَاءَ إِنَّهُ مِنْ عِبَادِنَا الْمُخْلَصِينَ.
we might turn away from him evil and illegal sexual intercourse. Surely he was one of our chosen, guided slaves. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that he had ikhlas, and he was chosen. She wouldn't accept that answer from him. So she tried to force him. He ran out of the room and opened the door and tried to leave, and she grabbed him by his shirt in the back and tried to pull him back, and his shirt was torn apart. That moment, her husband walked in the room.
واستبق الباب وقدت قميصه من دبر وألف يا سيدها لدى الباب.
So they raced with one another to the door, and she tore his shirt from the back. They both found their Lord. Lord here means husband. قالت ما جزاء من أراد بأهلك سوء. Look at how she changed the story. She said, what is the recompense for him who intended an evil design against your wife? What will the punishment be of a man who intended evil against your wife? Immediately she was able to pronounce that word. A reaction that was sudden, and this happened in front of Yusuf alayhi as-salām, clear lie in front of him. And then she إِلَّا أَن يُسْجَنَ أَوْ عَذَابٌ أَلِيمٌ, and then she gave suggestions for the punishment. Not only said what punishment should you give him, but she gave suggestions. What did she say? Except that he be put in prison or a painful torment. She didn't say kill him. She did not say kill him, because she doesn't want him to be killed. She said put him in jail or punish him, but she did not suggest killing him.
قال هي راودتني عن نفسي.
Yusuf said, it is she that sought to seduce me. Now how could you solve this problem? Yusuf is saying something and the wife is saying something else. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in that moment sent one of their relatives. So he came and he said, I will tell you, how can we tell the truth? If the shirt of Yusuf is torn from the front, then she's telling the truth. If the shirt of Yusuf is torn from the back, then she is lying. Because if the shirt is torn from the front, it means that Yusuf was attacking her and she was fighting him, so his shirt was torn. If the shirt is torn from the back, it means that she was running after him, trying to grab him. So it's a very wise suggestion. His shirt was torn from the back, so she was lying.
فلما رأى قميصه قد من دبر قال إنه من كيدكن إن كيدكن
So when he saw his shirt torn at the back, he said, surely it is a plot of you women. Certainly mighty is your plot. And then the husband told Yusuf,
يوسف أعرض عن هذا.
Oh Yusuf, turn away from this, meaning ignore it. Don't speak about it as if nothing happened. Let's not cause this problem to be known to anyone. And they don't want any of this to leak. They don't want a scandal. It will be a political scandal for them. So he told Yusuf, don't speak about it, as if it never happened. It's a cover-up. And then he told his wife,
واستغفري لذنبك إنك كنت من الخاطئين.
ask forgiveness for your sin. إِنَّكِ كُنْتِ مِنَ الْخَاطِئِينَ. Verily you were of the sinful. We can find the sense of spoilness in this response of Al-Aziz. And this is common among the high class when they become corrupt. He told Yusuf, forget about this. And then he told his wife, can you please ask Allah to forgive you? And that was the end of the story. There's no real jealousy in that man. He said, وَاسْتَغْفِرِي لِذَنْبِكَ, ask Allah to forgive you. إِنَّكِ كُنْتِ مِنَ الْخَاطِئِينَ. You were of those who were sinful. But the high-class society, they have a lot of spare time. And the women get together and they gossip. Some women from this particular level, the luxurious, extravagant, rich and famous of the high class, they knew somehow of the event that happened, and they knew that the wife of Aziz has love to her slave. So they started speaking about that.
وقال نسوة في المدينة امرأة العزيز تراود فتاها عن نفسه قد شغفها حبا.
And women in the city said, the wife of Al-Aziz is seeking to seduce her slave young man. قَدْ شَغَفَ حُبًّا. Indeed, she loves him violently. إِنَّا لَنَرَاهَا فِي ضَلَالٍ مُبِينٍ. We see her in plain error. I mean, how could she desire a slave? And gossip was going around, and the news is spreading from one meeting and club to another. So the wife of Al-Aziz wanted to teach them a lesson. She invited these women, and then she gave them some fruits. She gave them knives. And then she told them to start eating, so they would cut the fruits with the knives. And she had already prepared her slave, Yusuf. And Rasulullah ﷺ says that Yusuf had 1/2 of the beauty. Yusuf, there was no one more handsome than him. Rasulullah ﷺ says, I saw him in as-salām. When Rasulullah ﷺ made the trip of al-Mi'raj, Rasulullah said, وَرَأَيْتُ يُوسُف وَإِذَا هُوَ قَدْ أُوتِيَ شَطْرَ الْحُسْنِ. I saw Yusuf and he had 1/2 of the beauty. Ibn Mas'ud later would say that whenever Yusuf would deal with any woman, he would cover his face. The interpreters of this hadith, they say it could either mean that Yusuf had 1/2 of the beauty of the world, or it could mean that Yusuf had 1/2 of the beauty of who? Adam. Adam alayhi as-salām. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created Adam with His own hands, and the scholars said that was the best form of human beings. So Yusuf had 1/2 of the beauty of Adam. So they started eating, and she made Yusuf walk in front of them. Yusuf walked in front of these women. They were cutting these fruits, and they looked up and they saw Yusuf walking, and they kept on staring at Yusuf, and the knife is moving until it started cutting through their flesh and cutting their fingers. And when Yusuf passed away, they realized that they have cut their own hands. And they said, then when they saw him, they exalted him at his beauty, and in their astonishment cut their hands. They said, how perfect is Allah! No man is this. This is none other than a noble angel. So this cannot be a man. This is an angel. Now they understood what the wife of Aziz is going through. So she told them, she said, this is he, the young man, about whom you did blame me for his love. And I did seek to seduce him, but he refused. And now if he refuses to obey my order, he shall certainly be cast into prison, and he will be one of those who are disgraced. She is still running after him and threatening him. And the women who saw him now were all encouraging him to obey his master. They were telling him, she is your master, you have to obey her. So now the pressure is not only from the wife of Al-Aziz, but the pressure is from all these other women who saw him. Now things are becoming very, very difficult and painful and distressful on Sayyidina Yusuf. He's going through fitna. And his life is distressful. He is living in a big prison. A prison of fitna. All around him is fitna. Seduction is surrounding him from every side. So Yusuf said,
قال رب السجن أحب إلي مما يدعونني إليه.
he said, "Oh my Lord, prison is more to my liking than that which they invite me to." Now for Yusuf, living in prison is easier than living out of prison. What he's going through out of prison, outside of prison, is worse. He said, "Oh Allah, take me to jail. At least I will be away from this fitna. It's better for me." SubhanAllah, Yusuf is doing all of this to keep away from one of the most powerful, seducing things that could affect a man. Not only is it the beauty and the lust and the encouragement of the woman and the society and the environment that Yusuf is living in, but he's also being coerced and forced to commit this act of zina. Yusuf said, "Oh Allah, take me to jail. Going to jail is better for me than responding to what they want me to do." And then he said,
وإلا تصرف عني كيدهن أصب إليهن وأكن من الجاهلين.
"Unless you turn away their plot from me, I will feel inclined towards them and be one of those who commit the sin and one of those who are ignorant." He said, "Oh Allah, if you do not take away this from me, I am weak. I am weak, and I'm going to fall into this." An admission from Sayyidina Yusuf of his weakness. We are weak. We should never think that we're strong. Our strength comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is a dua that we should say in environments like this, which are similar to the environment of Yusuf alayhi salam. وَإِلَّا تَصْرِفْ عَنِّي كَيْدَهُنْ أَصْبُ إِلَيْهِنَّ وَأَكُمْ مِنَ الْجَاهِلِينَ. Oh Allah, if you unless you turn away their plot from me, I will feel inclined towards them and be one of the ignorants.
فاستجاب له ربه فصرف عنه كيدهم إنه هو السميع العليم.
So his Lord answered his invocation and turned away from him their plot. Verily he is the all-hearer and the all-knower.
ثم بدا لهم من بعد ما رأوا الآيات ليسجننه حتى حين.
Then it appeared to them after they had seen the proofs of his innocence to imprison him for a time. Now the news is spread. It's a scandal now. How can they solve the problem? By taking the innocent to jail. Instead of stopping the wife of Al-Aziz, they took the Nabi of Allah, Yusuf, and they put him in jail. He was oppressed and put in jail even though he was innocent. There were two men who were with him in jail. And these two men saw a dream. One of them saw a dream in which he's pressing wine. And the other one saw a dream in which he's carrying on his head some bread. And there are some birds who are eating from that bread.
ودخل معه السجن فتيان قال أحدهما إني أراني أعصر خمرا وقال الآخر إني أراني أحمل فوق رأسي خبزا تأكل الطير منه نبئنا بتأويله إنا نراك من المحسنين.
They said, because we see that you are of those who are righteous, we want you to tell us the interpretation of this dream. Yusuf alayhi salam told them, no food will come to you, but I will inform you its interpretation before it comes.
قال لا يأتيكما طعام ترزقانه إلا نبأتكما بتأويله قبل أن يأتيكما.
The Mufassirin have different opinions about this. One of them is that Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam told them, I will tell you the interpretation of the dream before your next meal is served. Before your next meal is served, you will have the interpretation of the dream. And then notice the personality of the da'iyah, the preacher to Islam. They asked him a question about an interpretation of a dream. He said, ذَلِكُمَا مِمَّا عَلَّمَنِي رَبِّي. Now, this is number two. Number one, he told them, طَعَامٌ تُرْزَقَانِهِ. Before you receive your next meal, but he said, تُرْزَقَانِهِ. It is rizq from Allah. So he's driving some concepts to them. So number one, he's telling them that this food that you will receive is from Allah.
ذلكما مما علمني ربي.
That is of the knowledge that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has taught me. Meaning I'm not going to tell you the interpretation of the dream from my own knowledge and skills. This is knowledge that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has taught me. So he's giving credit to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Number three.
إني تركت ملة قوم لا يؤمنون بالله وهم بالآخرة هم كافرون.
I have abandoned the religion of a people that believe not in Allah. Now what does this have to do with interpretation of the dreams? This is pure da'wah that he's delivering to these people. He said, I have left the religion of the people who disbelieve in Allah. He's talking about the religion that they're following. He said, I have abandoned that religion. وَهُمْ بِالْآخِرَةِ هُمْ كَافِرُونَ. And they disbelieve in the akhirah. So he's establishing in them the belief in Allah and the belief in akhirah. Because there is no religion that was revealed to a Nabi except that it has in it a pillar of faith, which is akhirah. And then, number 5, he said,
وَاتَّبَعْتُ مِلَّةَ آبَائِي إِبْرَاهِيمَ وَإِسْحَاقَ وَيَعْقُوبَ.
And I have followed the religion of my fathers, Ibrahim, Ishaq, and Yaqub. Why did he tell them that I followed the religion of my fathers? Ibrahim alayhi salam was the caller of truth, of tawheed in that time. He was the believer. And the belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was among his children. It wasn't widespread. So the family of Ibrahim alayhi as-salām were famous that they were the family of Islam. The people in Egypt have heard about the news of Ibrahim and Ishaq and Yaqub and the religion of Tawheed. So Yusuf is telling them about it. He's telling them, this is the religion that I follow. So he's telling them, I'm following the religion of my fathers, Ibrahim and Ishaq and Yaqub, because they were the representations of Tawheed. They were the representations of the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It was among this blessed family of Ibrahim alayhi salam. Number 6.
ما كان لنا أن نشرك بالله من شيء
And never could we attribute any partners whatsoever to Allah. The people in Egypt at that time knew the concept of Allah, but they knew it in a form of shirk. Because we'll find throughout the story of Yusuf that they knew about Allah. Because we talked about Al-Aziz is telling his wife, وَاسْتَغْفِرِي لِذَنْبِكَ, ask Allah to forgive your sin. So they knew about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but they knew about Him. They were attributing other gods with Him, like the people of Quraysh. They knew about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but they used to believe in other idols and gods. And then he said,
ذلك من فضل الله علينا وعلى الناس ولكن أكثر الناس لا يشكرون.
Number 7, this is from the grace of Allah to us and to mankind. وَلَكِنَّ أَكْثَرَ النَّاسِ لَا يَشْكُرُونَ. But most of mankind do not thank. Yusuf is saying that this message of Tawheed is a blessing of Allah on us, and it's a blessing of Allah on all mankind. Because Ibrahim alayhi salam was calling everyone to Islam, so it's a blessing on everyone. The religion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is a blessing for everyone. This is an introduction. And then he came to interpret the dream. But he gave them another introduction before he interpreted the dream. They asked him a straight question. Tell us the interpretation of this dream. What was his answer? He said, Ya sahibi as-sijn, O companions of the prison. And look at the choice of words. Ya sahibi as-sijn, O companions. He's taking them as companions and friends. He's having a social relation with them, some closeness. Ya sahibi as-sijn. A very soft way of speaking to them. Oh, companions of jail, you're my companions. And then he sends a question to them.
يا صاحبي السجن أأرباب متفرقون خير أم الله الواحد القهار.
Are many different gods better, or Allah, the one, the irresistible? He's not telling them straightly Allah is better. He's asking them a question to make them use their mind. It is obvious, because why is he asking this particular question? Because it is obvious to the human intellect and the human mind and the human heart that there is only one God. Allah is Al-Qahhar. Al-Qahhar means He is the one who is overwhelming and dominant over everything. So all of these other gods that you are establishing besides Allah, they have no power. No power whatsoever. So he asked them this question. And then he's giving them the answer. He gave them the question so that they would think. And he's preparing them to receive the next piece of information that he will give them. He told them,
ما تعبدون من دونه إلا أسماء سميتموها أنتم وآباؤكم
You do not worship besides Him, but only names which you have forged, you and your fathers, for which Allah has sent down no authority. Asma, names. What is a name? A name is an abstract thing, unless it is, the name itself has no value. It is the substance which you are naming that has the value. Yusuf is telling them that these gods have no substance. They don't even exist. There's nothing behind it. It's just a name. It's just a label. There's nothing behind it. Asma'un sammaytumuha. These are names you forged with your fathers before. Ma anzal Allahu biha min sultan. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not instruct or command us to do this. And then He said, the command is for none but Allah. Al-hukm, the governance and the rule and the command belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in all of our affairs, in everything. We need to realize that we are following an incomplete form of Islam today. We're following a brand of Islam that is missing the Sharia. The Sharia is left out. We are following a certain aspect of Islam, which is the daily rituals of ibadah, and some things that we do in the masjid, and some very little akhlaq that we have, and that's it. But we're missing the Sharia, the law of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We're missing the important akhlaq. We're missing the way of dealing in business. We're missing all of this. And if we do not have the intention to bring it back, and if we do not strive and struggle to do so, then we are guilty of following an incomplete form of Islam. And the only excuse we would have in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is if we strive and struggle to bring back the complete form of Islam. If we do that, then we hope that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will forgive us for this shortcoming. Yusuf is saying, in al-hukmu illa lillah. All command belongs to Allah. Do we follow the commandments of Allah in business? Do we follow the commandments of Allah in criminal law? Do we follow the commandments of Allah in international law? Do we follow the commandments of Allah in politics? Do we follow the commandments of Allah in economics? Do we follow the commandments of Allah in social laws? If we're leaving all of this out, what are we following? And then Yusuf is telling them the justification why the rule should belong to Allah. Because he says, He has ordered you to worship none but Him. So this is part of worship. The reason why hukm should belong to Allah is because it is part of worship. And if we are not worshipping Allah in the laws of social life and politics and economics, that means we are taking other gods besides Allah. And that's why when Uday ibn Hatim walked in, Rasulullah saw a cross hanging on his chest. And Rasulullah said, اتَّخَذُوا أَحْبَارَهُمْ وَرُهْبَانَهُمْ أَرْبَابًا مِّن دُونِ اللَّهِ. They have taken their priests and their rabbis gods besides Allah. Uday ibn Hatim said, no, we do not worship our priests. He was a Christian who had the cross hanging on his chest. Rasulullah said, didn't your priests make the halal haram and the haram halal? He said, yes. He said, that is worshipping them. If you give a human being the authority to say that the halal is haram and the haram is halal, you have taken him as a god besides Allah. And that is what we have done in a lot of aspects of our life. Actually, the major portion of our life, we have given the authority to man. And we have taken it from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Yusuf is telling them, إِنَ الْحُكْمُ إِلَّا لِلَّهِ أَمَرَ أَلَّا تَعْبُدُوا إِلَّا إِيَّهِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the commandment belongs to Him, and Allah has instructed you to worship none but Him.
ذَلِكَ الدِّينُ الْقَيِّمُ وَلَكِنَّ أَكْثَرَ النَّاسِ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ.
That is the true religion. That is the true religion. If we want the true religion, that is the true religion. وَلَكِنَّ أَكْثَرَ النَّاسِ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. But most men know not. And then he, after this introduction of da'wah, after he has fulfilled his part in conveying to them the message, now he gets to the answer of the question. But he held them back until he finished delivering the message of truth to them. And now he's going to tell them the answer. Why? Because they need him. And because they need him, they're willing to listen. So he took advantage of that and he started giving them these important concepts. And now he's going to give them the interpretation of the dream. He said,
يا صاحبي السجن أما أحدكما فيسقي ربه خمرا وأما الآخر فيصلب فتأكل الطير من رأسه.
O two companions of the prison, as for one of you, he will pour out wine for his Lord to drink. And as for the other, he will be crucified and birds will eat from his head. Thus is the case judged concerning what you both did inquire. One of you will be very close to the king. One of you is going to leave from this prison and jail, and he's going to be one of the close associates of the king, and he will be pouring wine for the king. This is the one who saw that he's pressing wine. And the other one of you will be taken out of jail and will be crucified. And he will be left on the cross until birds will come and eat from his head. And that is the one who saw that he has bread, and birds are eating from it. And then he said,
قضي الأمر الذي فيه تستفتيان.
the issue which you are asking about is judged. That's it. That's the judgment of Allah. It's done. And then Sayyidina Yusuf went to the one who he thought would be saved and will be close to the king. And Sayyidina Yusuf told him, please remember my name in front of the king. Yusuf was thrown in jail. They oppressed him. The appeal, because the one who put him in jail was Al-Aziz. And that was the second highest authority after the king. So there's no one whom Yusuf could appeal to except the king. He's the next higher authority. So Yusuf wanted his case to be presented in front of the king so that the king would look into that case and maybe would free him. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says,
وقال للذي ظن أنه ناج منهما اذكرني عند ربك فأنساه الشيطان ذكر ربه فلبث في السجن
and he said to the one whom he knew to be saved, mention me to your Lord. Your Lord means your king. There are two interpretations given to the next part. فَأَنْسَاهُ الشَّيْطَانُ ذِكْرَ رَبِّهِ. Satan made him forget to mention it to his Lord. There are two interpretations given. One interpretation is that this man, he left jail and he went to work with the king, but when he got in the palace and he got in close to the king and all of the luxury of life, he forgot about Yusuf, alayhi as-salām. Shaitan made him forget. That's one meaning. The other meaning is that Sayyidina Yusuf, alayhi as-salām, forgot to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he asked this man to ask the king. Instead of asking Allah, he asked the king to help him. Shaitan made him forget. And they say in the books of Tafseer, some of Mufassirin say, that Jibreel came to Sayyidina Yusuf, alayhi as-salām, and told him, who is the one who freed you from the well? He said, Allah. Who is the one who delivered you to safety in Egypt? He said, Allah. Who is the one who put you in the right place to be raised up and honored you? He said, Allah. Who is the one who saved you from the fitna of the wife of Al-Aziz? He said, Allah. He said, if Allah is the one who saved you throughout all of this, how come instead of asking Allah, you're asking the king to save you out of jail? And because of that mistake, he paid a price. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَلَبِثَ فِي السِّجْنِ بِضْعَ سِنِينَ. He spent a few more years in jail. This mistake that seems to be small, he paid the price for it and he spent a few more years in jail. Ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala directly. He's the one who saved you throughout this. Now definitely Sayyidina Yusuf was asking Allah for dua, but because he went through this human being and thought that he could do him something, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to teach him the lesson. And the Anbiya of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whenever they commit a mistake, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala teaches them so that they would leave us a message that is clean. The Anbiya of Allah, when they commit mistakes, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would correct their mistakes for them. So that when they die, all of the message that they leave behind is pure without any mistakes. If there was anything in it, it would have been corrected. فَلَبِثَ فِي السِّجْنِ بِضْعَ سِنِينَ. So Yusuf stayed in prison for a few more years. The king, after a few years, saw a dream. We see that dreams were important in their lives. We have a few dreams here. A dream of Yaqub, a dream of the dream of Yusuf, the dream of the king, and the dream of these two men in jail. Dreams played an important role in their lives. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives the Anbiya a miracle to challenge the people in the thing that is most important to them. So Allah has given Sayyidina Yusuf the miracle of interpreting dreams. That's one of his miracles. The king saw a dream. The king saw 7 fat cows eaten by 7 ajaf. Ajaf means bones are sticking out. You could see the bone under the flesh. They're very skinny. So these 7 fat cows were eaten up by 7 skinny ones. That's one dream. Either in the same dream or in another dream, he saw 7 green ears of corn eaten by 7 dry ones. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says,
وَقَالَ الْمَلِكُ إِنِّي أَرَىٰ 7 بَقَرَاتٍ سِمَانٍ يَأْكُلُهُنَّ 7 عِجَافٌ و7 سُنبُلَاتٍ خُضْرٍ وَأُخَرَ يَابِسَاتٍ.
And the king of Egypt said, Verily I saw in a dream 7 fat cows, whom 7 lean ones were devouring, and 7 green ears of corn, and 7 others dry.
يَا أَيُّهَا الْمَلَأُ أَفْتُونِي فِي رُؤْيَايَ إِن كُنتُمْ لِلرُّؤْيَا تَعْبُرُونَ.
O notables, explain to me my dream, if it be that you can interpret dreams. We have 7 fat cows eaten by 7 weak ones, and then 7 green ears of corn and 7 dry ears of corn. And then he asked his government and associates and people, please interpret this dream for me. None of them knew the answer. They said,
قَالُوا أَضْغَاثُ أَحْلَامٍ وَمَا نَحْنُ بِتَأْوِيلِ الْأَحْلَامِ بِعَالِمِينَ.
mixed up false dreams. Forget about it. This is false dreams. Don't worry about it. وَمَا نَحْنُ بِتَأْوِيلِ الْأَحْلَامِ بِعَالِمِينَ. And we don't have any skill in the interpretation of dreams. We are not people who care about interpreting dreams. People who are materialistic and attached to life, they don't care about this unseen. Al-Ghayb. The servant was there. The one who was serving the king wine, he was there. When the topic of dreams was brought up, who did he remember? He remembered Yusuf after a few years. He now remembered. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says,
وَقَالَ الَّذِي نَجَا مِنْهُمَا وَادَّكَرَ بَعْدَ أُمَّةٍ أَنَا أُنَبِّئُكُم بِتَأْوِيلِهِ فَأَرْسِلُونِ.
Then the man who was released now at length remembered and said, I will tell you its interpretation, so send me forth. I will tell you the interpretation, let me go, and I'll get you the answer. So he went to Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam, and he said, Yusuf, أيها الصديق. O Yusuf, man of truth. Subhanallah, Allah has given the Anbiya the quality of truth and the people know it. Siddiq. He was called Siddiq, man of truth.
يوسف أيها الصديق أفتنا في 7 بقرات سمان يأكلهن 7 عجاف و7 سنبلات خضر وأخر يابسات لعلي أرجع إلى الناس لعلهم يعلمون.
Here, this man is narrating the dream to Sayyidina Yusuf, but Allah is mentioning to us the narration, and He is narrating it exactly as the king saw it in the dream. And that is important in dreams. If you want a dream to be interpreted, it has to be narrated exactly as it was seen. So here this man is narrating the dream exactly as the king has said it in the ayah before. 7 fat cows devoured by 7 weak ones, 7 green ears of corn, and 7 dry ones. Aftina, tell us the interpretation of this so that I can go and let the people know. Yusuf, alayhi as-salām, now has a bargaining tool in his hand. He's in jail and this man comes to asking about the interpretation of the dream. He could have said, I'm not going to tell you the answer until you free me. But Yusuf didn't. He gave him the answer without asking for anything. He said, and not only did he give the answer, he gave the interpretation and his recommendations. He said,
قال تزرعون 7 سنين دأبا فما حصدتم فذروه في سنبله إلا قليلا مما تأكلون.
For 7 consecutive years, you shall sow as usual. For 7 years, you're going to have an abundance of harvest. These are the 7 fat cows. You're going to have a lot of rain and you're going to be blessed. You're going to have a lot. And then he said, فَمَا حَصَدْتُمْ فَذَرُوهُ فِي سُنبُلِهِ إِلَّا قَلِيلًا مِمَّا تَأْكُلُونَ. That harvest which you reap, keep it in the ears, except a little of it which you may eat. He told them, you need to ration. Even though you're going to have a lot of harvest, don't use it all. Save most of it. And only use the minimum. Even though there are years of blessings, don't use it, don't consume it. Save it all except for what you need for eating. And they used to say in the tafsir that Sayyidina Yusuf would survive on half a meal a day. And he has ordered the government to ration in the same way. And he would give the example to the people. He would eat the minimum even though there was an abundance. Why? Because he wants them to store the rest. He told them to keep the grain, the corn, in the ear. There's an interesting story. You know that Sudan is going through an embargo. Our Sudani brothers are going through miserable times. The US and its allies are forcing them into this embargo, this oppressive embargo, and they're not allowing them to export and import. Sudan has a lot of grain. They have a lot of wheat. But they're not able to export anything from the outside, and they need to store this grain, store it for the future. But the problem is, whenever they would store the grain in this underground bunkers, underground storages, after a few years it would go bad. It would spoil because of fungus and humidity and insects and worms and other diseases and bacteria. So it would spoil it. They have a lot of wheat, but it would just go bad. It would expire. There was a Muslim professor who was visiting them. He's a professor in agriculture. He told them, I have a suggestion for you. I'll tell you, let's try this. How about instead of storing the grain as seed, store it in the ears? Let's try what Yusuf alayhi salam did. Let's store the grain in the ears. So they tried it. And they stored the grain in the ears, and it survived for a much longer period than it was before. So Yusuf alayhi salam told them, keep the grain in the ears so that we can store it. And then he said,
ثم يأتي من بعد ذلك سبع شداد يأكلن ما قدمتم لهن إلا قليلا مما تحصنون.
then will come after that 7 hard years, which will devour what you have laid by in advance for them, except a little of that which you have guarded, stored. After these 7 years of abundance, there would come 7 difficult years. You would have nothing. And in those 7 years, you're going to be eating from what? From what you have stored. So these are the 7 lean, skinny cows eating the 7 fat ones. And the 7 green corns, ears of corn, you're going to use them for the 7 dry years. So he gave them recommendation of how to do it. And then he told them something that is not in the dream, and this is a wahi from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
ثم يأتي من بعد ذلك عام فيه يغاث الناس وفيه يعصرون.
Then thereafter will come a year in which people will have abundant rain and in which they will press wine and oil. This is not in the dream, but he told them that after the 7 difficult years, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will send a lot of rain on you. This was conveyed to the king. The king was impressed. He wanted to make use of this expertise.
وقال الملك ائتوني به.
The king said, bring him forth. Bring him to me. The messenger went to convey this news to Sayyidina Yusuf. He told them, the king is offering you to leave prison and jail. You're free. You're free to leave. Not only are you free to leave, but the king wants to have you as one of his advisors. Look at this honor. Not only is he going to leave jail after years, but he's going to be an advisor of the king. But the response of Yusuf alayhi salam was amazing. It was even amazing to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Yusuf said, no, I'm not going to leave. You're offered to leave jail. Here, the doors are open, leave. And you can be an advisor for the king. He said, I'm not going to leave. Sayyidina Yusuf said, return to your Lord and ask him what happened to the women who cut their hands. Surely my Lord Allah is well aware of their plot. Yusuf alayhi salam did not want to leave prison until his innocence is established. Because he was put in jail and he's innocent. And he does not want to leave jail as a favor given to him by the king. No, he wants to leave jail with everybody knowing that he's innocent. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, رحم الله يوسف لو كنت أنا لبادرت الباب أو لأجبت الداعي. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, may Allah have mercy on Yusuf. If it was me, I would have rushed towards the door and responded to the call. Staying in staying in prison for years, and then you're offered to leave and you say, no, I'm not going to leave until my innocence is established. But the story of Yusuf is an example from the beginning to the end. It's an example of patience. Sabr. That is the essence of the story of Yusuf. Go and ask the king, what is the story of the woman who cut their hands? So he wants his case to be opened again. So the king investigated in this case, and then he brought these women, and he asked them this question.
قال ما خطبكن إذ راوتن يوسف عن نفسه.
The king said to the women, what was your affair when you did seek to seduce Yusuf? The women told the truth. قُلْنَا حَاشَ لِلَّهِ مَا عَلِمْنَا عَلَيْهِ مِنْ سُوءٍ. The woman said, Allah forbid, no evil know we against him. All of these women witnessed the truth and said, Yusuf is innocent and he has committed no evil. At that particular moment, the wife of Al-Aziz, when she saw that the case is exposed and the truth is known, she said,
قالت امرأة العزيز الآن حصحص الحق أنا راودته عن نفسه وإنه لمن الصادقين.
She said, now the truth is manifest to all. And she admitted her guilt and said, أَنَا رَاوَدْتُهُ عَنْ نَفْسِهِ وَإِنَّهُ لَمِنَ الصَّادِقِينَ. It was I who sought to seduce him, and he is surely of the truthful. Now the innocence of Yusuf is established. And then she said,
ذلك ليعلم أني لم أخنه بالغيب وأن الله لا يهدي كيد الخائنين.
Then Yusuf said, I asked for this inquiry in order that he, Al-Aziz, may know that I betrayed him not in secret, and verily Allah guides not the plot of the betrayal. So here in the translation, they believe that these are words of Yusuf. There's a difference of opinion whether it's the words of Yusuf or her words. If it's the words of Yusuf, he is saying, because who was the Sayyid of Yusuf? Who was his slave owner? It was the husband of this woman. So Yusuf, after she admitted, he said, this is so that my Lord would know that I am innocent. And this is her husband. And that it's not me who tried to seduce her, it is her. And I free not myself from the blame. Verily, the human self is inclined to evil, except when my Lord bestows His mercy upon whom He wills. Verily, my Lord is oft forgiving, most merciful. Now the king said,
وقال الملك ائتوني به أستخلصه لنفسي.
and the king said, bring him to me, that I may attach him to my person. So they brought Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi as-salām, honored, out of jail with his innocence established, and now he is with the king, and he talked with the king. The king was even more impressed with him when he talked with him. After he talked with him,
فلما كلمه قال إنك اليوم لدينا مكين أمين.
then when he spoke to him, he said, verily this day you are with us high in rank and fully trusted. Now I trust you fully, and now I would give you authority. In that moment, Sayyidina Yusuf said,
قال اجعلني على خزائن الأرض إني حفيظ عليم.
He said, set me over the storehouses of the land. SubhanAllah. Yusuf is asking for position. We know that in Islam, we're not supposed to ask for a position of leadership. Rasulullah ﷺ says, إِنَّا لَا نُوَلِّي هَذَا الْأَمْرِ مَنْ سَأَلَ. We do not appoint to the position of leadership whoever asks for it. If you are seeking the position of leadership, you should not be given that position. But Sayyidina Yusuf is asking for that position. And then Sayyidina Yusuf is doing something else that we don't do in Islam. He said, إِنِّي حَفِيظٌ عَلِيمٌ. I am hafiz, meaning I will protect it, and I am knowledgeable. Alim, I'm knowledgeable. And Islam we know, وَلَا تُزَكُّوا أَنفُسَكُمْ. Do not praise yourselves. Allah tells us in Quran, don't praise yourself. Don't give yourself credit and praise yourself. And Yusuf is giving himself praise. He's saying, أَنَا حَفِيظ وَعَلِيم. I will protect it. I have the ability to protect and take care of it. And alim, I'm knowledgeable. The scholars say that when you are the only person who is able to take that position, then you're allowed to ask for it. And Yusuf was the only one who was fit for that position. If he left it, it would have been taken by somebody who will not take care of it. Number two, if you are not well known to the people, then you are allowed to introduce yourself. In the Islamic community, when everybody around you is Muslim, you should not go and ask for a position of leadership and authority because everyone around you is Muslim. And when you are part of the community and people know you, you should not go and praise yourself. But Yusuf alayhi salam is not known. They don't know him yet. He just came out of jail. So you need to tell them his credentials. And also, he's the only one who knows what's going on and knows this future. Therefore, if he leaves it, that will be an irresponsible stance because it will be taken by somebody who will corrupt and will not be able to take this authority. So this is why Sayyidina Yusuf asked for that position of leadership and why he told them about himself. And Yusuf alayhi salam was not asking this position for fame or power. No, he knew from the beginning that he will be taking care of Egypt in one of its most difficult times. Who wants to take care of a government that is broke? He's going to take care of Egypt in 7 of the most devastating years. Years of hunger and famine. Prime ministers run away from positions like this because this is the end of your career. If a stock market crash happens in your time, you lost your job. And we know it, that whole governments would collapse because of this. So there's no honor in taking that position. It's a very difficult and critical moment. But Yusuf wants to take that position, not for the honor and the prestige and the fame of it. No, he's doing it as a service to take care of the people of Egypt.
وَكَذَلِكَ مَكَّنَّا لِيُوسُفَ فِي الْأَرْضِ يَتَبَوَّأُ مِنْهَا حَيْثُ يَشَاءُ نُصِيبُ بِرَحْمَتِنَا مَن نَّشَاءُ وَلَا نُضِيعُ أَجْرَ الْمُحْسِنِينَ.
Thus did we give full authority to Yusuf in the land. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala now has established Yusuf firmly in the land. يَتَبَوَّأُ مِنْهَا حَيْثُ يَشَاءُ. He will go wherever he wants with authority. It is said that the king told him, do whatever you want in the kingdom. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that Yusuf can go anywhere in Egypt and he has full authority to do whatever he wants. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala established Sayyidina Yusuf, who was sold as a slave, who faced death. Now Yusuf became the most powerful person in Egypt. He had the treasury, he had the authority all under his hands. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says,
وَلَأَجْرُ الْآخِرَةِ خَيْرٌ لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَكَانُوا يَتَّقُونَ.
And verily the reward of the hereafter is better for those who believe and used to be obedient to Allah. Allah is telling us so that we don't think that dunya is something worth it. Allah is telling us that the reward of Yusuf in akhirah is the true reward. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saving the reward for Yusuf in akhirah. That is the place of reward. The famine that struck Egypt wasn't limited to that area. It had some effects on the surrounding areas, including Asham. So this drought not only affected the area of Egypt, but also overspilled to the areas of Palestine and Syria and those parts of the world. So the place where Yaqub alayhi salam was living was suffering from that drought. But now all the people around Egypt have nothing to eat because they don't have someone like Yusuf to manage their affairs. So everyone was running out of wealth and money and food except Egypt. Egypt had enough to feed the people of Egypt and to feed its neighbors because of the wonderful management of Sayyidina Yusuf. So now the brothers of Yusuf are going to the center of the drought, the famine, Egypt, to ask for food. Even though that is where the center of the drought and the famine is, but that is where everybody is going to ask for food. Why? Because it was under a just and great manager, and that is Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam. So sometimes it's not a matter of how much wealth the earth has. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will put blessing even if the earth is dry, if there is adl, if there is justice. Ibn Taymiyyah says, justice is the thing that the heavens and earth are established on. Whenever it is missing, everything will go corrupt. The earth under you could be filled with wealth. Oil could be pumping out of the ground. Harvest could be filling your storages. Nevertheless, you would have poverty in the streets. Why? Because justice is missing. But you could have a land that is completely dry and drought, and there's nothing growing up, like in Egypt. Nevertheless, everybody's going to Egypt to get their ration. So it's not a matter of how much your earth is producing, it's a matter of the justice, al-adl. In the time of Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal said we were opening up some of the storages of Bani Umayyah. Bani Umayyah are the ruling family of the Muslim world for a few decades. Imam Ahmad said we were opening some of their storages, so we found a sack. And in the sack, we found a mustard seed. Now the mustard seed is very, very small. It's a very small seed, very small. But this mustard seed was the seed of a date. The size of the mustard seed was like a seed of a date, this big. And that seed was put in this small sack. Written on it was, this used to grow in the time of justice, the time of Umar bin Abdul Aziz. This type of seed, mustard seed, used to grow in the time of justice and the time of Umar bin Abdul Aziz. So Allah blesses even the land because of the justice of the ruler. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says,
alayhi fa'arafahum wa hum lahu munkirun.
And Yusuf's brethren came and they entered unto him, and he recognized them, but they did not recognize him. He knew them. He knew that these are my brothers, but they didn't know him. They came, why did they come to Egypt? To receive ration, some food. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says,
وَلَمَّا جَهَّزَهُم بِجَهَازِهِمْ قَالَ ائْتُونِي بِأَخٍ لَكُم مِّنْ أَبِيكُمْ أَلَا تَرَوْنَ أَنِّي أُوفِي الْكَيْلَ وَأَنَا خَيْرُ الْمُنزِلِينَ.
Yusuf used to give ration per head. So he would give every individual a camel load. So how many brothers were these? There were 10. 10 brothers. So he gave them 10 camel loads. And then he was talking to them. He told them, how many brothers are you? They said, we're 11. He said, why didn't you bring the 11th brother with you? They said, he's with his father. He said, okay, next year bring him with you, because as you see, I will give you a full load per head. If you bring him with you, instead of going back home with 10 loads, you will get 11. This is targhib. He's trying to encourage them to bring the brother. And then he's using targhib, threatening them. And if you don't bring him with you, I'm not going to give you anything. So he's using targhib and tarhib. The carrot and the stick. The carrot, bring your brother, I'll give you 11 loads. The stick, if you don't bring him, you're going to get 0, nothing.
فإن لم تأتوني به فلا كيل لكم عندي ولا تقربون.
But if you bring him not, there shall be no measure of corn for you with me, nor shall you even come near me. They said,
قالوا سنراود عنه أباه وإنا لفاعلون.
They said, we shall try to get permission for him from his father, and verily we shall do it. The brothers of Yusuf, they brought with them some merchandise to do trade. So they gave this stuff that they brought with them, and they took instead of it food. The merchandise that they brought was worthless, really. It wasn't very valuable. Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam said, go and put it back in their luggage. This merchandise that they brought, put it back in their luggage, without them knowing. Why did Sayyidina Yusuf do that? So that when they go back home, they would have something to bring next year with them to do trade. Yusuf was afraid that maybe they would go home and they would have nothing left to bring with them next year. So they would think, well, if we don't have anything to give, how can we take corn? So Yusuf said, give them back what they brought so that they will use it to come back next year. Yusuf told his servants to put their money, which they have brought with them, into their bags so that they might know it when they go back to their people, in order that they may come back.
فلما رجعوا إلى أبيهم قالوا يا أبانا منع منا الكيل قالوا يا أبانا منع منا الكيل فأرسل معنا أخانا نكتل وإنا له لحافظون.
When they went back to their father, they said, "Oh, our father, no more measure of grain will be given to us unless we take our brother. So send our brother with us, and we shall get our measure, and truly we will guard him." Who was this brother? This was Binyamin, the brother of Yusuf, from the same mother. Sayyidina Yaqub alayhi salam was protective of Binyamin just like he was with Yusuf. And he would not trust his brothers to take care of him. So the brothers are trying to convince the father. They said, listen, if you don't send him with us, we can't get anything. Yaqub knows what they have done with Yusuf, that they have made a conspiracy against him. He doesn't want this to happen to Binyamin again.
قال هل آمنكم عليه إلا كما أمنتكم على أخيه من قبل فالله خير حافظا وهو أرحم الراحمين.
He said, can I entrust him to you except as I entrusted his brother Yusuf to you aforetime? But Allah is the best to guard, and He is the most merciful of those who show mercy.
ولما فتحوا متاعهم وجدوا بضاعتهم ردت إليهم قالوا يا أبانا ما نبغي هذه بضاعتنا ردت إلينا
هذه بضاعتنا ردت إلينا ونمير أهلنا ونحفظ أخانا ونزداد كيل بعير ذلك كيل يسير.
And when they opened their bags, they found their money had been returned to them. They said, "Oh, our father, what more can we desire? This is our money, it has been returned to us. So we shall get more food for our family, and we shall guard our brother and add one more measure of a camel's load. This quantity is easy for the king to give." Now Yaqub is almost convinced, but he said,
قال لن أرسله معكم حتى تؤتون موثقا من الله لتأتونني به إلا أن يحاط بكم.
"I am not going to send him with you unless you promise me that you will not forsake him unless you are surrounded and there's no way for you to survive. Don't come to me alive without Binyamin. And I want you to give me your promise." He, Jacob, said, "I will not send him with you until you swear an oath to me in Allah's name that you will bring him back to me unless you are yourselves surrounded." So they gave him the promise. And when they had sworn their solemn oath, he said, "Allah is the witness over that which you said." These brothers, 11 brothers, were strong and handsome. And you have 11 sons. That is something that people are going to be jealous about. Sayyidina Yaqub might have been worried of the effect of the evil eye, al-ayn. And this is haqq. Rasulullah ﷺ says, al-aynu haqq. The evil eye is true. The evil eye is some ability that some people have to cause you harm when they are jealous of you. So Sayyidina Yaqub said,
وقال يا بني لا تدخلوا من باب واحد وادخلوا من أبواب متفرقة.
and he said, "O my sons, do not enter by one gate, but enter by different gates. Don't go all of you together from one gate. Go from different gates, because if you go all of you together, people will be jealous. So break up into groups and go from different gates." Yaqub is telling them this to keep them away from the evil eye. But then Yaqub is clarifying something. He said,
وما أغني عنكم من الله من شيء.
"And I cannot avail you against Allah at all." This is means that you could follow. This is a sabab. But it is not this that would save you, it is Allah. So we follow the means, but then we leave the matter in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is tawakkul.
إن الحكم إلا لله.
Allahu Akbar. Even Yaqub is emphasizing this again, and he's saying, "In al-hukmu illa lillah." The command and the decision rests only with Allah. And then he said,
عليه توكلت وعليه فليتوكل
In Him I put my trust, and let all those that trust put their trust in Allah.
ولما دخلوا من حيث أمرهم أبوهم ما كان يغني عنهم من الله من شيء إلا حاجة في نفس يعقوب قضاها.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and when they entered according to their father's advice, it did not avail them in the least against the will of Allah. It was but a need of Jacob's inner self which he discharged. It is not this that will save them. It is the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So they entered and met with Yaqub, with Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi as-salām. When they came in to meet Yusuf, Yusuf alayhi as-salām took Benjamin to the side, without the brothers knowing. And he told him, Benjamin, do you know who's speaking to you? This is your brother Yusuf. He embraced his brother and hugged him, and he told him,
قال إني أنا أخوك فلا تبتئس بما كانوا يعملون.
Verily, I am your brother, so grieve not for what they used to do. And then Sayyidina Yusuf made a plan. Sayyidina Yusuf provided them with their camel loads, 11 camel loads. And then he took Suwa al-Malik, the cup of the king, which was made of gold, very valuable thing that belonged to the king. And he put it in the luggage of his brother Benjamin. He sticked it in there without nobody knowing. All of the brothers, they loaded all of their luggage and they started to leave. And suddenly they heard an announcement.
ثم أذن مؤذن أيتها العير إنكم لسارقون.
That the cup of the king has been stolen. So they said, we did not come to cause corruption in the land. This is not our habit or custom. We're not robbers, we're not thieves. They said, if you are not thieves, we have to look at your luggage. We're going to look in every luggage. But what if we find it in your luggage? What will happen? They said, if you find it in our luggage, then you take the guilty one as a slave with you. This used to be the law of Yaqub. The law of Sayyidina Yaqub is that whoever steals is captured as a prisoner by the owner of the goods. The law of the king of Egypt, whom Yusuf is working under, is that the one who steals is punished. A certain punishment. Yusuf does not want his brother to be punished. Yusuf wants to take his brother. So Yusuf made this trick, this plan, to take his brother according to their law. So he made them state the rules. He told them, okay, what if we find it in your belongings, what will happen? So they told him their law, the law of Yaqub, which was you take him as a prisoner. He said, okay, we'll follow your laws, sign this paper, this is the agreement. We are following your rules, not ours. And then they started looking in the camels one by one. And they started with the other camels before. So they kept on uncovering them. They would look inside. They would not find it. They would go to the next one. And then when they opened up the luggage of Benjamin, they found it there. When they found this cup in the luggage of Benjamin, what did the brothers say?
قالوا إن يسرق يسرق فقد سرق أخ له من قبل.
They said, if he steals, his brother has stole before. They said that his brother stole before. They're talking about Yusuf. Now the Mufassirin say what is meant by this is that when Yusuf was young, look at how you could twist the information. When Yusuf was young, he did steal. But what did he steal? His grandmother, they say, this is the story of Tafseer Allah, it could be valid, it could be not. They say that his grandmother had a small idol. And Yusuf stole it from her. And he destroyed it. So they used this and they said he stole before. Even though this is not really stealing, this is da'wah, destroying a false god. Anyway, but they said, إن يسرق فقد سرق أخ له من قبل. Let me read these ayat that we just covered now.
فلما جهزهم بجهازهم جعل السقاية في رحل أخيه ثم أذن مؤذن أيتها العير إنكم لسارقون.
So when he had furnished them forth with their provisions, he put the golden bowl into their brother's bag. Then a crier cried, "O you in the caravan, surely you are thieves."
قالوا وأقبلوا عليهم ماذا تفقدون.
Then they turned toward them and said, "What is it that you have missed?"
قالوا نفقد صواع الملك ولمن جاء به حمل بعير وأنا به زعيم.
They said, "We have missed the golden bowl of the king, and for him who produces it, the reward of a camel load, I will be bound by it."
قالوا تالله لقد علمتم ما جئنا لنفسد في الأرض وما كنا سارقين.
They said, "By Allah, indeed you know that we came not to make mischief in the land, and we are no thieves."
قالوا فما جزاؤه إن كنتم كاذبين.
They, Joseph's men, said, "What then shall be the penalty of him if you are proved to be liars?"
قالوا جزاؤه من وجد في رحله فهو جزاؤه.
They said, the brothers of Yusuf, the penalty should be that in whose bag it is found should be held for the punishment of the crime. Thus we punish the wrongdoers.
فبدأ بأوعيتهم قبل وعاء أخيه ثم استخرجها من وعاء أخيه.
So he began the search in their bags before the bag of his brother. Then he brought it out of his brother's bag.
كذلك كدنا ليوسف ما كان ليأخذ أخاه في دين الملك إلا أن يشاء
thus did we plan for Joseph. He could not take his brother by the law of the king, except that Allah willed it.
نرفع درجات من نشاء
We raise to degrees whom we please.
وفوق كل ذي علم عليم.
But over all those endowed with knowledge is the all-knowing Allah. I want to comment on one word here. ما كان ليأخذ أخاه في دين الملك. Allah says, he could not take his brother according to the religion of the king. Deen. Allah used the word deen. Allah is calling this law deen. It is religion. Laws are part of religion. This is a law. We call it criminal law. Here in the United States, criminal law. It has nothing to do with religion. And that mentality is being engraved in our minds, unfortunately, that laws have nothing to do with religion. Allah in Quran is calling the law of the king deen, religion. That is the religion of the king, and this is the religion of Allah. Laws are part of religion. Fi deen al-Malik. Allah did not say in the qanun of the Malik, in the law of the Malik. Allah said in the deen, in the religion of the Malik, in the king. They said,
قالوا إن يسرق فقد سرق أخ له من قبل.
if he steals, there was a brother of his who did steal before him. Sayyidina Yusuf held those emotions in his heart and he didn't speak.
فأسرها يوسف في نفسه ولم يبدها لهم.
But these things did Joseph keep in himself, revealing not the secrets to them. He did not respond to this. And then he said, also silently,
قال أنتم شر مكانا والله أعلم بما تصفون.
he said within himself, you are in worst case, and Allah knows best the truth of what you assert. They're speaking to Yusuf, and they're telling him that Yusuf stole before. Yusuf knows the truth. He said, Allahu A'lam, Allah knows better. But he did not show that to them. Now the brothers are trying to free Benjamin because they have given their father a promise that will come back with him.
قالوا يا أيها العزيز إن له أبا شيخا كبيرا فخذ أحدنا مكانه إنا نراك من المحسنين.
They said, O ruler of the land, verily he has a father who is old, so take one of us in his place. Indeed, we think you are one of the good doers. He said, no, that will be oppression. That is wrong. How can we take an innocent one? He is guilty, we're going to keep him. When they gave up, خَلَصُوا نَجِيًّا, they went on the side. Their elder brother, they say his name is Rubil, he said,
قال كبيرهم ألم تعلموا أن أباكم قد أخذ عليكم موثقا من الله ومن قبل ما فرطتم في يوسف فلن أبرح الأرض حتى يأذن لي أبي أو يحكم الله لي وهو خير الحاكمين.
No, the eldest among them said, know you not that your father did take an oath from you in Allah's name, and before this you did fail in your duty with Yusuf. Therefore I will not leave this land until my father permit me, or Allah decides my case, and He is the best of the judges. He said, I'm not going to leave Egypt. I'm not going to go and face my father after this. We have betrayed Yusuf before, and now we're going to go to our fathers and say that our brother is taken as a prisoner. I'm not going to leave. So he stayed there, and the other brothers went back to Egypt. So they went back, and they told their father what happened. The father didn't believe this. How could it happen that before you betray Yusuf and you come and lie, and now you betray his other brother and you lie? So he told them,
قال بل سولت لكم أنفسكم أمرا فصبر جميل.
Nay, but your own selves have beguiled you to do something. They said,
واسأل القرية التي كنا فيها والعير التي أقبلنا فيها وإنا لصادقون.
This time they're telling the truth. They said, ask the people in Egypt, and ask the caravan. All of them will witness that we're telling the truth. But this is like, they say that there was one shepherd of sheep. And once he started saying, the wolf is attacking, so everybody came to help him. And they found that there's no wolf. He was lying. The next day he said, the wolf is attacking, they all came to help him. Nobody came to help. The third day the wolf did show up. And he started saying, the wolf is attacking, nobody came to help him because they thought he's lying. So the brothers of Yusuf, they lied before. They lied about Yusuf. Now they're telling the truth, but their fathers cannot believe it. And they're trying to convince him, and they're telling him, ask the witnesses, but he said, no, you have made a plot. فَصَبْرٌ جَمِيلٌ. He said, I will have patience. And then he said, عَسَى اللَّهُ أَن يَأْتِيَنِي بِهِمْ جَمِيعًا. He did not lose hope. He said, may Allah bring them all back to me. Yusuf and his brother. He did not even lose hope in Yusuf, because he remembers the dream of Yusuf, and he knows that one day Yusuf will be victorious. He knew. The father, now his sorrow was, the injury was brought up again. And he remembered Yusuf. And now it's Yusuf and his brother Binyamin. So the father started to cry and weep until he turned blind. He kept on crying and weeping حتى ابيضت عيناه من الحزن, until his eyes lost vision because of sorrow. فهو كظيم. He was suppressing that sorrow. The brothers tried to reduce this pain on their father, and they said, by Allah, you will never cease remembering Yusuf until you become weak with old age, or until you be of the dead. They felt sorry for their father. They saw that he's going to destroy his health by this sorrow that he's suppressing in his heart. He said,
قال إنما أشكو بثي وحزني إلى الله وأعلم من الله ما لا تعلمون.
I only complain of my grief and sorrow to Allah, and I know from Allah that which you know not. I am not complaining to you. I'm not complaining to mankind. I am asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help me. Ashku ilallah. I seek assistance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then he said,
يا بني اذهبوا فتحسسوا من يوسف وأخيه ولا تيأسوا من روح الله.
O my sons, go you and inquire about Yusuf and his brother. The father is telling these other brothers, go and look for Yusuf and his brother. But Sayyidina Yaqub alayhi salam did not lose hope. And he said, and never give up hope of Allah's mercy, certainly no one despairs of Allah's mercy except people who disbelieve. Sayyidina Yaqub alayhi as-salām requested his sons to go and look for Yusuf and his brother Binyamin, because he never lost hope in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the next year, they went to Egypt to receive the ration. And they carried with them the merchandise that was sent back with them from the year before. They went to Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi as-salām, and they met with him. And they said,
فلما دخلوا عليه قالوا يا أيها العزيز مسنا وأهلنا الضر وجئنا ببضاعة مزجاة فأوفِ لنا الكيل وتصدق علينا إن الله يجزي المتصدقين.
Then when they entered unto him, they said, O ruler of the land, a hard time has hit us and our family. Difficult moments. It was famine, and it was continuing from year to year, and it was becoming more difficult throughout time. And things were becoming more constrained and more severe. So they went to Sayyidina Yusuf, and they were begging him, مَسَّنَا وَأَهْلَنَا الضُّرِّ. Harm has befalled us with our families. وَجِئْنَا بِبُضَاعَةٍ مُزْجَاةٍ. And we have came with poor capital. Muzjah. Bida'a muzjah means some merchandise that is not very good quality. Something that is not worth a lot. So they're telling Al-Aziz, which is Sayyidina Yusuf, and that's the name of this position, Al-Aziz, and the word Aziz itself means the honored. And they're telling him, really, we want you to help us, because this merchandise that we brought with us is not worth a lot. It's not even worth presenting to you. So they're apologizing before they even present it, because they know that it's worthless. وَجِئْنَا بِبُضَاعَةٍ مُزْجَاةٍ فَأَوْفِ لَنَا الْكَيْلِ. So pay us full measure. And then they said, وَتَصَدَّقْ عَلَيْنَا. وَتَصَدَّقْ عَلَيْنَا. And be charitable to us. They're asking for sadaqah. They're asking for charity. When Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi as-salām saw his brothers begging, when he saw that they reached to the level of begging, subhanAllah, look at this. These brothers who made the conspiracy to get rid of him and kill him, so they reached to the level of weakness where they are begging their brother whom they don't know, and they're telling us, give us charity. And they said, إِنَّ اللَّهَ يَجْزِي الْمُتَصَدِّقِينَ. Truly Allah does reward the charitable. At that point, when Yusuf saw his brothers begging, he didn't want it to go any further. He didn't want them to go under that level. I mean, that's it. When you beg, that's the lowest it could get, and the weakest. And he did not want to see his brothers in that position. Even though they harmed him, and they caused him all of this trouble, and they threw him in the well, and they tried to kill him, and he is their brother. But he didn't want to see them in that position of beggars. So he said,
قال هل علمتم ما فعلتم بيوسف وأخيه إذ أنتم جاهلون.
He said, do you know what you have done to Yusuf and his brother وَإِذْ أَنْتُمْ جَاهِلُونَ, when you were ignorant? Do you know what you have done to Yusuf and his brother Who can say this except Yusuf himself? Who knows about Yusuf? How would Al-Aziz know about that? So immediately when he said that, they realized that they're speaking to Yusuf. When he asked them, what have you done with Yusuf and his brother? They knew that the man who's standing in front of them is Yusuf alayhi salam. They said,
قال أنا يوسف وهذا أخي قد من الله علينا.
They said, are you indeed Yusuf? قال أنا يوسف وهذا أخي. I am Yusuf and this is my brother. قد من الله علينا. Allah has indeed been gracious to us. I want you to pay attention to the following segment of the ayah. If you would forget everything that we said in the story of Yusuf, make sure that you don't forget this. Because this is the essence of the story of Yusuf. This is the essence of the story of Yusuf. And keep in mind that this story was revealed to Rasulullah ﷺ when? When was Surat Yusuf revealed? In Mecca. When in Mecca? In the Aam al-Huzn. In Aam al-Huzn, when Abu Talib passed away, and Khadija radiallahu anha passed away, and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam found no one to support him with strength, his uncle Abu Talib, and no one to support him financially, his wife Khadija. That was the year of sorrow. It's not only sorrow and sadness on Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam because he lost his uncle and he lost his beloved wife, but because the da'wah was limited and now barriers were being erected in the face of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Before that, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had strength. His uncle was providing him with an umbrella, and his wife was comforting him at home. Now Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has lost these two supporters, and the heart of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was filled with sadness and sorrow. Those moments that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was going through are unbearable. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is receiving Surat Yusuf in this particular situation, because that is what Quran, لِنُثَبِّتَ بِهِ فُؤَادَكَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He said we're revealing Quran, why? لِنُثَبِّتَ بِهِ فُؤَادَكَ, so that we would strengthen your heart. So Quran was being revealed on Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the appropriate times, for the appropriate situations, to serve the appropriate purpose. So in that specific period of Aam al-Huzn, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reveals to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam the story of Yusuf. It is the story of someone who went through difficulty, trials, misery, sorrow and sadness. But then in the end, قَدْ مَنَّ اللَّهُ عَلَيْنَا, Allah has bestowed His blessing on me. Why? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in this segment of the ayah, the essence of the surah of Yusuf,
إِنَّهُ مَن يَتَّقِ وَيَصْبِرْ فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُضِيعُ أَجْرَ الْمُحْسِنِينَ.
Verily, he who has taqwa and is patient, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not waste the deeds of al-muhsineen, the right doers. If you have taqwa and patience, eventually you will win even after a while. If you have taqwa and patience, no matter what, in the end you will be victorious. And you should have no doubt in that. Sayyidina Yusuf was victorious in the end, in dunya and in akhirah. It's not only in dunya, it's in dunya and in akhirah. But it happened after a while. It took a while. It wasn't swiftly in the same day. It took a while. Therefore, it needs patience. If you do not have patience, you will not be able to survive the long road. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, there's a lot of struggling, there's a lot of striving. But If you have patience and you have taqwa, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will establish you on the land. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says about Bani Israel, وَجَعَلْنَا مِنْهُمْ أَئِمَّةً يَهْدُونَ بِأَمْرِنَا What? لَمَّا صَبَرُوا وَكَانُوا بِآيَاتِنَا يُوقِنُونَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, we have made the children of Israel a'immah, leaders whom you follow in righteousness. أَئِمَّةً يَهْدُونَ بِأَمْرِنَا. They guide to our path. When were the children of Israel leaders for mankind? لَمَّا صَبَرُوا. When they had patience, وَكَانُوا بِآيَاتِنَا يُوقِنُونَ. And they had yaqeen. There is no victory without sabr. إِنَّ النَّصْرَ مَعَ الصَّبْرِ. It is mentioned in a hadith, victory comes with patience. And in general, today, we are very emotional. We are fired up fast. There could be a very hot khutbah of Jum'ah, talking about jihad, for example. During that khutbah, everyone feels that he is like Khalid bin Walid. He's ready to go in the battlefield. The salah is over a few moments. Just by the time you step your foot out of the masjid, you leave all of that emotions behind you and you're back to dunya again. Very easily fired up and very easily we cool down. That is not sabr. That is not sabr. We are reactionary. We react to situations, but then after a while, we calm down and it's back to usual. But with the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, they had a plan and they implemented that plan steadily. And they worked on it and eventually they were victorious. Not only does this work with the believers, this is a law of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that can even be applied to the non-believer. Antara bin Shaddad is a famous figure in the Arab tales as somebody who was very courageous. That's the personality of Antara in the Arabic literature. They say that Antara bin Shaddad, a very strong, well-built, powerful man came to him and said, Antara, how come you are famous as being powerful and strong when your body is smaller than mine and your strength is less than my strength? Nevertheless, everyone uses you as the example of courage and strength. He said, I'll tell you why. Stick your finger in my mouth and I'll stick my finger in your mouth and let's bite. I'll bite your finger and you bite mine. Both of them, they stick their fingers in each other's mouth and they counted to 3 and they started biting. And they're crushing on the fingers of each other. After a few moments, the other guy screamed and he lost. Antara told him, that's why. If you would have just waited for one more moment, one more second, I would have screamed. It's just a matter of outdoing you. I was able to have patience for just one more moment and that's why I won. As they say in English, who blinks first? إنه من يتقي ويصبر فإن الله لا يضيع أجر المحسنين.
قالوا تالله لقد آثرك الله علينا وإن كنا لخاطئين.
Now they realized their loss and they said, by Allah, indeed Allah has preferred you above us and we certainly have been sinners. These brothers who were jealous of Yusuf, so jealous that they tried to kill him, now they're saying you're better than us. You are better than us. In the end, they had to admit it. See how Allah made them victorious in every aspect. It even reached to the level where his brother said, you are better than us. Now we admit.
قال لا تثريب عليكم اليوم يغفر الله لكم وهو أرحم الراحمين.
When Rasulullah ﷺ went into Mecca, he went into Mecca victorious without any parades, without any national anthem, without any red carpet, without any motorcade, without any pride. Rasulullah ﷺ, instead of riding on his horse or camel with his chest forward, carrying his spear, Rasulullah ﷺ went into Mecca making sujood to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on his camel until his beard was touching the back of the camel. Tawadu', humbleness. With sakinah, calmness. Till he reached to Al-Kaaba and they climbed on the door of Al-Kaaba while the people of Quraysh are surrounding him. His enemy for years and years are now under the sword of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam asked them, what do you think I will do with you? They said, Akhun Kareem wa Akhin Kareem. A noble brother and the son of a noble brother. I will tell you like what Yusuf told his brother, La tathriba alaykum al-yawm. I'm going to tell you just what Yusuf told his brother. Today, there's no punishment or no blame on you. اذهبوا فأنتم الطلقاء. Go, you are free. He said, no reproach on you this day. May Allah forgive you, and He is the most merciful of those who show mercy. So he forgave his brothers, and he allowed them to leave, but he gave them something. And this is a miracle of the Anbiya. He gave them his shirt. And he said, throw it on my father, and he will see. Because his father was blind. Why was he blind? Crying on Sayyidina Yusuf. And this is a miracle of Sayyidina Yusuf.
اذهبوا بقميصي هذا فألقوه على وجه أبي يأت بصيرا وأتوني بأهلكم أجمعين.
Go with this shirt of mine and cast it over the face of my father. He will become clear-sighted, and bring to me all your family. When the caravan was leaving out of Egypt, Yaqub was in Sham, very far away, a few hundred miles away. When the caravan just started moving out of Egypt, Sayyidina Yaqub smelled Sayyidina Yusuf. He was smelling his shirt. And it was still in Egypt. And this is another miracle of Sayyidina Yaqub alayhi as-salām.
ولما فصلت العير قال أبوهم إني لأجد ريح يوسف لولا أن تفندون.
And when the caravan departed, their father said, I do indeed feel the smell of Yusuf. If only you think me not a dotard, a person who has weakness of mind because of old age. They said,
قالوا تالله إنك لفي ضلالك القديم.
and this is something that was one of the Mufassirin of Quran said, لَقَدْ قَالُوا لَأَبِيهِمْ كَلِمَةً عَظِيمًا. They have said something inappropriate to their father. They said, oh our father, by Allah certainly you are in your old error. They told him, you have become old. You're starting to lose your mind.
قال ألم أقل لكم إني أعلم من الله ما لا تعلمون.
Then when the bearer of the glad tidings arrived, he cast it over his face and he became clear-sighted. He said, did I not say to you, I know from Allah that which you know not? And now they realized their mistake again. They said,
قالوا يا أبانا استغفر لنا ذنوبنا إنا كنا خاطئين.
O our Father, ask forgiveness from Allah for our sins. Indeed, we have been sinners.
قال سوف أستغفر لكم ربي إنه هو الغفور الرحيم.
He said, I will ask my Lord for forgiveness for you. Verily, He only is the one who is oft forgiving, the most merciful. Now all of them moved. They took their belongings, everything with them, and they started moving towards Egypt to fulfill the invitation of Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi as-salām. As soon as they came in, Sayyidina Yusuf has prepared to meet his family.
فلما دخلوا على يوسف آوى إليه أبويه وقال ادخلوا مصر إن شاء الله آمنين.
Then when they entered unto Yusuf, he betook his parents to himself and said, enter Egypt, if Allah will, in security. And he had a throne. Sayyidina Yusuf was sitting on a high throne. So he elevated his father and his mother to sit with him on the throne. And then all of them, the father and the mother, and the 11 brothers, made sujood to Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam to fulfill the dream which he saw when he was a child. The end of the Surah of Yusuf fulfills the dream which was in the beginning of the Surah of Yusuf. Between them, a very long lifespan. The scholars have given it 30 years, some of them 25, some of them 80 years. Allahu Alam. But this is the fulfillment of the dream of Sayyidina Yusuf.
إذ قال يوسف لأبيه يا أبت إني رأيت أحد عشر كوكبا والشمس والقمر رأيتهم لي ساجدين.
I see 11 planets making sujood to me, and the sun and the moon. So the 11 planets were his brothers, and the sun is his father, and the moon is his mother.
وقال يا أبت هذا تأويل رؤياي من قبل قد جعلها ربي حقا.
O my father, this is the interpretation of my dream of old. My Lord has made it come true. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says,
وقد أحسن بي إذ أخرجني من السجن وجاء بكم من البدو من بعد أن نزغ الشيطان بيني وبين إخوتي.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, here these are the words of Yusuf, He was indeed good to me. When He took me out of the prison and brought me here out of the Bedouin life, after Satan has sown enmity between me and my brothers, certainly my Lord is the most courteous and kind unto whom He will. Truly, He, only He, is the all-knowing, the all-wise.
قد آتيتني من الملك وعلمتني من تأويل الأحاديث فاطر السماوات والأرض أنت ولي توفني مسلما وألحقني بالصالحين.
My Lord, you have indeed bestowed on me the sovereignty and taught me the interpretation of dreams, the only creator of the heavens and the earth. You are my wali in this world and the hereafter. Sayyidina Yusuf had everything a seeker of this world wants. I mean, no matter how hard we work, you can't get anything better than what Yusuf had in terms of the standard of this world. He had power and authority. He was combined with his parents and family again, and the dispute among them was solved. He had wealth. He had control over the kingdom of Egypt, which was the greatest kingdom of the time. He had it all. If somebody had what Yusuf alayhi had, he would hold it with his teeth and nails and not want to leave it. You remember when Sulaiman ibn Abd al-Malik asked Abu Hazim, why do we hate death? What did Abu Hazim say? He said, عَمَّرْتُمْ دُنْيَاكُمْ وَخَرَّبْتُمْ آخِرَتَكُمْ فَتَكْرَهُونَ أَن تَخْرُجُوا مِنَ الْعُمْرَانِ إِلَى الْخَرَابِ. He said, you have built this world and you have destroyed akhirah, so you hate to go from what is built to what is destroyed. Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi had everything that a person would want in dunya. But this for Sayyidina Yusuf is nothing. He's not a seeker of dunya. He would say, Alhamdulillah for what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given me. But he's doing it as a ibadah for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Yusuf, when he is in the pinnacle and the peak of his power and fame and wealth and dominance on the face of the earth, look at the dua of Sayyidina Yusuf. Look at the dua that Sayyidina Yusuf is saying. He said,
توفني مسلما وألحقني بالصالحين.
Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam said, cause me to die as a Muslim and join me with the righteous. You have kingdom, you have power, you have fame, you have wealth, you have love in the hearts of everyone. Dunya in his eyes is nothing. Subhanallah al-Azim, and we have a few dollars and we're clinging to it and we're afraid of death for mata' qaleel, mata'un za'il, for something that is going to leave. And we're holding tight to it. And Sayyidina Yusuf has all of this and is saying, توفني مسلما والحقني بالصالحين. Make me die as a Muslim and be with the righteous. These are the hearts who are attached to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and attached to akhirah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says,
ذلك من أنباء الغيب نوحيه إليك وما كنت لديهم إذ أجمعوا أمرهم وهم
This is of the news of the unseen, which we reveal by inspiration to you. You were not present with them when they arranged their plan together, and also while they were plotting.
وَمَا أَكْثَرُ النَّاسِ وَلَوْ حَرَصْتَ بِمُؤْمِنِينَ.
And most of mankind will not believe even if you desire it eagerly. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam.